Hey guys, Nintendrew here. In this video, I'll be reviewing a robot named Fight for Nintendo Switch. Okay, first things first, let's get this out of the way. I know the developer of this game. His name's Matt. He's a real cool dude. We're good buds. Look, here's a photo of us together. There's no way I could give a truly 100% unbiased review of a robot named Fight, so I want to get that out there in the interest of transparency. I have known about this game since the earliest days of its current iteration, and I've been happy to help Matt out with beta testing the game leading up to its launch. That being said, I am going to do my best to give you all my full and honest opinions about the title to the best of my ability, the good and the bad. I will not be holding back. So with that caveat out of the way, let's dive in. So what is a robot named Fight? Basically, if Super Metroid and The Binding of Isaac had a weird, gross baby, this would be it. The game is advertised as a Metroidvania roguelite, otherwise charmingly referred to as a Metroguelite. It's clear on first impressions that the game is a strong love letter to Super Metroid, but what may not be as immediately clear is the game's roguelite progression. Essentially, the controls, gameplay, and core mechanics are all very similar to your typical 2D Metroid game, but each time you play, you're dropped into a unique, procedurally generated world. The game is host to over 100 unique items, which can be anything from a basic damage or health upgrade to more consequential power-ups like a flamethrower or homing shots, even traversal items like a double jump or power slide. And each time you start a new run, you'll find a different set of items in a different order. The object of the game is, in true Metroid fashion, to explore the vast interconnected system of tunnels, build an arsenal of weapons, backtrack to discover new areas and hidden secrets, and eventually make your way to the game's final boss, the Mega Beast. If you happen to bite the dust before the last showdown, it's game over. You're stripped of all your upgrades and sent back to the very beginning in a newly generated world. Given the label of a Metroidvania roguelite, a robot named Fight tends to land a bit closer to the roguelite label than the Metroidvania, which may not be super intuitive at first glance. If you go into the game hoping for a fan-made Metroid reboot, you may be disappointed. By nature, this is not the sort of game you play through once and put on the shelf. Depending on your skill level and how thoroughly you expand the map, a single successful playthrough might take anywhere from 30 or 40 minutes to an hour and a half. It's very much meant to be played tens, hundreds, even thousands of times over, and as you progress through subsequent runs, you'll also permanently unlock new items and areas for future playthroughs, very much like The Binding of Isaac. While you could dismiss the title as a Metroid clone, you'd be doing yourself a disservice by overlooking the technical achievement of a procedurally generated Metroidvania. The level generator is, in my opinion, the game's most impressive feat, and may go underappreciated by some players. In this aspect, a robot named Fight nails that Metroid feeling. Certain rooms and areas are tantalizingly out of reach behind gated progression points, such as a door covered in flesh or a ledge that's just too high to reach. As you delve deeper beneath the surface, you'll eventually uncover just the tool you need to head back and push further into the labyrinth. If you understand anything about game programming, you'll no doubt recognize how complex this aspect of the game must be under the hood. Now, that's not to say it's perfect. There are points where the game doesn't feel quite as deliberately designed as a title like Super Metroid. One example is that in the intro of Super Metroid, Samus is sent to infiltrate and escape from a space pirate facility before setting foot on the surface of a hostile planet to explore at the player's leisure. And once you make your way to the world below, the quote-unquote real game begins. Whereas this game puts you immediately into the action with no special intro segments, unique tasks, or fanfare. While the game does have a diverse set of environments throughout each run, every section of the game feels more or less consistent, with rooms of predictable sizes interconnected by various doors. It seems like this is a necessary design choice given the nature of the game's world generator. And to be honest, with the roguelite format, I'm not entirely convinced that more deliberately crafted moments would add anything major to the experience. If anything, an inconsistency in gameplay might become distracting across multiple runs. So in that sense, the game succeeds in taking the best aspects of both subgenres. Apart from a couple smaller changes, the controls and movement physics are very faithful to Super Metroid, and quite intentionally so. For those gamers who have not spent a lot of time with Super Metroid, the controls may feel a bit outdated. In that way, a robot named Fight is very much geared towards fans of the Super Nintendo era, and depending on your experience with those titles which were a part of it, this may either come as a challenge or a welcome design choice. Scattered throughout each run, you'll also come across some special rooms, such as a shop, an offering shrine, or, if you're lucky, a single-use save station. These areas provide a welcome break from the standard run-and-gun platforming and help to tweak and perfect your character's loadout. This becomes more and more important as each run nears its end, challenging players with increasingly menacing and formidable enemies. On the flip side, some of the enemies do feel like less of a challenge and more of an annoyance, particularly these slug-type things in the first area. Shooting while crouched doesn't hit them, so really the only way to take care of them is to get in their face and aim down at your feet to pick them off. In practice, they don't pose any daunting threat, but are a hassle to take care of. This can be said for a few different enemy variants, but for the most part, the rest of the game's foes each present fresh and rewarding challenges. And there are certainly a lot of them. In any given run, you'll face up to 80 unique enemy types, each native to their own respective environment. The standard route for each playthrough will take you through 4 of these distinct environments before you're ready to make your way back to the surface where the final challenge awaits. Each of these areas are roughly the same size and help to give a sense of progression while working toward your goal. So now that I've pretty well covered the game itself, let's talk specifically about the Switch version. In my opinion, this is definitely the definitive version of the game. At the time of this review, the Switch version is fully up to date with the PC release, and includes all new updates that have been introduced since the game's initial launch in late 2017. On top of that, I love that the game has been ported with the Joy-Con controllers in mind. For those unfamiliar, A Robot Named Fight offers a 2-player co-op mode which you can drop in and out of at any time, and on the Switch, this is just as easy as connecting 2 Joy-Cons and passing one off to a friend. Of course, as the Switch version is the game's first console release, this also marks the game's first handheld release, and I really like being able to hop in and play for 5 or 10 minutes while on the go. Obviously, that's not unique to this title, but all that is to say, I've found myself more likely to play on the Switch version since its release, and I don't really have any reason to go back to the PC. The only thing I feel might be missing is an implementation of HD Rumble. I've really enjoyed seeing how other indie developers have taken advantage of this unique feature, and it would have been nice to see this game adopted as well. But as I understand, the developer intends to continue updating all versions of A Robot Named Fight, and may explore new features like this down the road as part of the game's ongoing free content updates. So, final thoughts. For those series fans who want to scratch the Metroid itch until Metroid Prime 4 is released, A Robot Named Fight provides a compelling twist on the familiar 2D formula, and really feels like a heartfelt love letter to both of its major inspirations, those being Super Metroid and The Binding of Isaac. I could talk about how impressive the title is given that it's been built by just one person, including music, art, programming, the works, but I think that sort of appeal could serve to downplay the value of the game as it stands on its own. Regardless of the story of the game's development, A Robot Named Fight is a competent and frankly addictive platformer with a great deal of content to discover, and you'd be forgiven for assuming it's been built and perfected by an established team of developers. Bottom line is, at $12.99 on the eShop, this game is a great choice for any fans of the Metroidvania and roguelite subgenres. The game provides countless hours of entertainment with potentially endless replayability, and with all these points considered, I've chosen to give A Robot Named Fight a 9 out of 10. Thanks so much for watching, guys. I really hope you enjoyed this new review. Of course, if you did, please do consider subscribing to Nintendrew for all sorts of cool gaming content, and otherwise, I'll see you next time. Bye! Hey guys, thanks again for checking out the video and for making it all the way to the end. Hope you enjoyed. As always, I've got links to all my social media in the description below, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Discord, that sort of thing. And if you'd like to help out even more, I've got a link to my Patreon on the right side of your screen. Otherwise, I hope you'll look out for the next video. Take care.